Hello and welcome back to Boo Books on YouTube. We're here for episode 2 where we are continuing our chat with Andrew David Barker, author of The Electric and Dead Leaves. I want to ask what the kind of appeal of the coming of age story is to you, because that element is so strong in The Electric initially, with a sort of slightly younger cast of characters, and then emerging again in Dead Leaves with a slightly older cast of characters. What is it about that flavour of story that really appeals to you?
I've always liked coming of age stories and still do, and I think it goes back to, you know, those years form who you're going to be. At least they did for me. And I think there's a lot there. You know, it's all the first, isn't it? It's your first love, it's your first kiss, it's your first pain, it's your first awareness of life. It's all there, and I just think with The Electric, the kids are younger, and it's a more innocent book, and a more idyllic book.
Yeah.
And I think that suits the age that the kids are in that novel. Whereas with Dead Leaves, we're now 17, 18, and the disillusionment is setting in, and particularly at in Derby, in a working class environment at that time. In the early 80s, there wasn't much for people to cling on to. There wasn't much hope. People did lose themselves in horror films and music, and because there was nothing else to do. There was nothing else out there for anybody. It's a very strange time. So it felt very natural for this to be a harder edge book with more complex characters, with characters that weren't always nice and did do stupid things and say stupid things and can be quite horrible to each other, and certainly can be quite horrible to their parents because they don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just it's just the frustration of growing up, and I wanted to try and capture that.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost you described Dead Leaves as was it the delinquent older brother of The Electric?
Yes, it's sort of like the gone off the rails older brother of the Electric. It's the brother that the family don't really want to talk about. Yeah. So it's set in a world very much like The Electric, but like I say, it's a harder world, and it's a more honest and realised world, a more realistic world, should we say?
Yes, absolutely. So, what are your memories of that sort of VHS era? Because I think I grew up at a similar sort of time, and that sort of joy of going to the video shop and looking for the new titles that obviously we don't have in the same way nowadays. What's your recollection of that time?
Well, the book is set in 1983. I was only 8 in 1983. So the actual video nasty craze, the whole media furore of it, I was aware of because my dad was a big horror fan, and in the book we have a guy called the Pirate Man coming around with a big box of pirate videos, and we had that guy come around here with a big suitcase full of stuff, and my dad would get all these films and I would secretly watch them. And
Mary Whitehouse was right, kids again.
Yes, absolutely, she was right. We were watching those films, and so I was aware of it in terms of it, very early on, me watching these films or being aware of these films. The actual political side of it, obviously, I was too young to really understand. But I do remember. I do remember my mum sort of mentioning that these films were going to be banned, and kind of being aware of it vaguely. But the whole idea of the video shop and going in and searching for films, and also not knowing what was out, you know, just going in and seeing a video box and thinking, wow, that looks amazing. That's all gone now.
Yeah.
You know, with just searching for films in itself. I mean, I really wanted to capture that whole feeling of searching for something and of finding things that you wasn't even aware of. And now I think people are already, you know, lamenting the video shop. They're, you know, what is it, 5 years since they kind of went, and I think people are already nostalgic for it. You know, just going and searching for a film on a Friday night, there's something quite wonderful about it.
Yeah. It's also easily available now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I wanted to pick up on the role of film in your life, I suppose. It's something that runs through your first book, The Electric, immensely, with the cinema screening the movies made by ghosts, so many classic Hollywood, perhaps some lesser known Hollywood stars as well, featuring in that one. And with this, we have a book which film again is at the very heart of. So, what role do you think films played in your life?
I think when I was younger, films were everything to me. I was obsessed with films, a lot more so then than I am now. But I still love films. But the films of the 70s and 80s that particularly had an immediate impact on me growing up are still very much part of my psyche and part of the landscape of my imagination, and they've never gone away. And you know, watching films like Jaws at a very early age, I already knew that was something I wanted to do. I didn't understand what it meant to be a filmmaker or a storyteller, but I knew that there was something there that I thought, I want to do that, whatever that was. You know, I didn't really know then, but as I grew older, films like The Evil Dead were hugely important and hugely influential to me when I was sort of early teens, mid-teens, when I first saw it, because that was made by kids. You know, in the back of Beyond in Michigan, in Tennessee, where they shot it, and it's as I there's a passage in Dead Leaves where it talks about how he always thought that films were made by, you know, completely unattainable people in Hollywood, either by heritage or through you know, some kind of nepotism. You know, that was the only way to get in. Whereas these guys just went out and did it, and they weren't much older than the you know, the protagonist in Dead Leaves. I mean, Sam Raimi was 19 when he started making that film. It's just mind blowing. Yeah, that's phenomenal. And still, when I think about what they went through to make that film, it still gets me fired up to do something. My ambitions now are, I still would like to make films, but it's not the number one thing for me as it was when I was a kid. But still, that drive and ambition is hugely inspiring, and I've always been drawn to filmmakers, writers, artists of any kind that have sort of naive enthusiasm in a way. Just the sheer, let's just go for it. It doesn't matter about the conventions or the politics that go into a filmmaking industry, or, you know, just ignore all that. Just go and do it.
Let's make something happen.
Yeah, let's do something out of sheer will. And I've always found that very inspiring.
What's your writing process then? What's your usual approach to putting your books together?
The process is kind of changing. With The Electric, I had the main premise, that of a cinema that shows movies made by ghosts for ghosts. I knew after a series of wrong turns that I wanted to set it in the 80s with kids and make it a more personal novel. So I had all that, and I knew what the first chapter would be, and I kind of just went with it, and that worked out. I didn't think it would. You know, I've come from writing a lot of screenplays, which screenplay is all structure, and you have to outline, and it has to have all the beats, and I found that restricting after a while. With the Electric, it was a revelation for me to just follow the characters and see where they were going to go, because I didn't always know, and there were some very nice surprises that happened. I kind of knew the end, but to get there, I didn't really know, and it was sometimes worrying working like that, but in the end, it kind of worked out. With Dead Leaves, that I took that and really ran with it. I had the first chapter, which is these two lads in a video shop trying to get hold of a copy of The Evil Dead, and the guy who runs the video shop saying, well, I've not got it, but if you come back tomorrow, I might be able to get you a copy. It's going to cost you this. And that's what I had. Yeah. And then I just ran with the characters and let them sort of dictate where it was going. I feel now I'm more interested in character than plot, and the drive of the narrative is always coming from a place of character for me now. And I will continue to do this now, because it excites me not knowing. Once I get into a book, I give myself a kind of time to do it every day. But starting a book, it can be bits and bobs until it starts to move, and then I think, well, I've got to be working on this, 9 o'clock till 12, and else I'm just not going to get it done. So it takes a while to get into that rhythm.
Yeah. So how has the experience of having a book out been? Because I know you've been in bands in the past, you've had put a film together. How was the experience of having a book out compared to that?
Yeah, I've done quite a few things.
Quite a few things.
Tried a few things. Having the Electric out and seeing that paperback on people's shelves or in bookshops is the best thing creatively. The satisfaction is more than I've had with any of these things that I've done.
Endeavours.
Yeah, these creative endeavours. It was great fun being in a band. It was a nightmare as well. All the politics that comes with that, and dealing with other people, and the same applies with the film. I had a lot of problems with my film. The film, A Reckoning, was satisfying in actually making it and completing it, but everything that surrounded it was very difficult. With this, it's been, the whole thing of writing and of writing novels is the most satisfaction I've ever had out of any creative thing I've ever done. To see the book complete and done, it exists now and it's out there, and the response to it has been more than I could have ever hoped. People have said some wonderful things, and we've had some amazing reviews, which is something I never expected. I wrote this for me. I didn't have any audience in mind. I didn't know it did. I knew it didn't fit into any sort of category that publishers like to fit everything into a neat little box. I didn't know. I just wrote the story I wanted to write and satisfy myself. So to have people come back and have them say that they got a lot from it is quite incredible. So it's a wonderful thing, and I'm on this path now.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Andy, for joining us today.
Thank you.